evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening. And don't forget, the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
Welcome back to another episode of Mahoning Drive-In Radio. I'm Mark, and I am here with Nancy, one of our longtime staffers, part of our series of talking to everybody who works on the lot and getting a little bit of a story for our customers of the person behind, well, normally I would say the person behind the smiling face, but this year it's been the smiling eyes above the mask. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to see you and hear you again. The people at home won't see you, but we can see each other through Zoom, and it's a nice. A lot of times in the off season, we all go to our separate ways. And as we're recording this as being snowed in during a pandemic, we're all very much in our separate places right now. First question I have, and I kind of know the answer to all of these, and you may have a shorter answer than a lot of people for some of these that I have. How did you first discover the Mahoning Drive-In Theater?
Well, let's see. I first discovered it when Virgil discovered it in 2014.
And you were dragged willingly or eagerly leapt into helping to run the establishment?
I was dragged along willingly. I was a little hesitant at first. I didn't really know what it was to be expected, but I was excited about it.
And you were there, I now recall, the first time I went to the Mahoning, as I've said about 13 times in these interviews so far, the first time I went to the Mahoning was the last show of the last non-retro season. It was that horror triple feature, and the staff, it was a bit of a different staff than we would come to know in the retro incarnation. Everybody was dressed up, and I want to say you were dressed as a gypsy, and you were running the snack bar register?
Yes, I was. I guess it was sort of like a gypsy or like hippie or something like that. I had like an old retro dress on, and
maybe that's what it was. But yeah. So you are somebody I've associated with the place as long as I've been going there. And what would you say your role is at the drive-in now?
Now, I would say I'm more like behind the scenes. Like I do the inventory for all the food and the stock that we get. And, I like kind of oversee a little bit of everything. I kind of make my rounds and make sure everybody's doing okay. If anybody needs any help, or, if it's hot or something, I ask the lot guys if they need a drink or a break or whatever it is. So just a helping hand.
So more behind the scenes than you were when I first saw you there.
Yes.
Like you're not generally dealing with the public very much at this point.
No, not really. I mean, if people catch me in the lot and they'll ask me questions and stuff, usually I can answer most of the questions that they ask.
And are you happier with more of a behind the scenes role?
I like being upfront with people as well, but I feel like now, because I'm so busy with like the baby and everything and having him there, I have to step back a little bit so that I can do both.
And what do you do when you're not working at the drive-in, as far as other job or things to fill your time or things to clear your mind or whatever?
Well, I was cleaning houses for a long time, but since the pandemic, I haven't been able to do that. Don't really want to be going into people's houses and stuff right now. But other than that, I guess to pass the time, I usually just listen to music, or sometimes I draw, sometimes I color, just to kind of keep myself busy.
And what would you say your answer would be in a normal world? Not like the one we're living in right now.
I would say I usually would go to work like 2 to 3 days a week cleaning houses. I would go and see friends every once in a while, maybe go out and have a beer at a bar, which sounds like, crazy to say right now, but spend some time with my family.
These questions I ask people, I have to preface it with, in a normal world, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Right. And it's hard to think back, just, what a normal world is now.
2 years ago seems like 10.
Yeah, it does.
Did you ever have a relationship with drive-ins before coming to the Mahoning? Did you go to drive-ins as a kid or as a youth or
Well, it's kind of a funny story. I was visiting family in Ohio, and my grandfather's niece, he's like a step grandfather to me, but his niece actually took my sister and I to a drive-in, and that was my first time. And the movies were Striptease and Cable Guy, and I was like 10, I think. And and Striptease was the first one to come on, so I was a little bit shocked at that that they would choose that as their first feature, on a weekend. So so that was interesting. I don't really remember a whole lot about it, just kind of like feeling like I had to keep turning my head and hiding that I was actually watching it.
Sorry, I saw that double feature at the drive-in too.
Did you?
Funny enough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember a lot of details about the place and on anything like that. I think because I was too embarrassed and I was like taking over most of my emotions. But I remember, laying on a blanket and seeing the big screen and kind of being in all of it, because usually I was always inside the theater, So it was definitely an experience.
Did you go to drive-ins regularly ever, or was it just a rare thing?
No, I never really went when I was a kid. Not until I think right around the time that he started coming to the Mahoning. Like, I've been to Becky's and we went to Shankweiler's, but that was just something because, it's like, oh, well, let's go check these places out too,
Would you call yourself a film lover? What is your degree of cinemania? On the lot, we have people who have tattoos of their favorite films upon their person, who dress up like people. And then you have people who just want to come and be entertained for 2 hours. Like, where on the spectrum do you fall there?
I feel like, I have somewhat of a good knowledge about some films, but it's usually ones that like I grew up with. It's not anything like a lot of the fans that come to the theater. They know like little bits about all these different movies that I've never even heard of, honestly. And I'm like, I get blown away by that. And I'm like, I don't even remember the actor in one of my favorite movies and like stuff like that. Like, I don't know little details like a lot of people do. But certain movies, of course, like growing up, I watched Now and Then probably like 1,000 times. And like those period things where it's like based in the 70s. And I'm like, I always was like a little bit of a hippie at heart. So movies like that, they always stuck with me, and I could, phrase them like word for word. But a lot of the times I hear the movies that were playing there and I'm like, what's that about?
Exactly.
Or like, what am I getting myself into here? Because there's been some interesting ones for sure.
Very eclectic and eye-opening features we program week after week.
Yes.
Now, what would you say if you had to choose like a favorite movie, or like what kind of films would you watch if you were home alone and the world was your oyster? What kind of things would you dial up on the TV?
I guess I like a little bit of everything, but like the ones that I usually go to are either like mystery, like crime series, sort of like thrillers, or like lovey-dovey romance, like not like Hallmark romance, but like, I don't know, feel good movies. You know what I mean? Like they either make you laugh or make you cry or like think of a loved one or whatever it is, stuff like that. But I do like a little bit of action and thrill as well.
Speaking of movies that we've run at the Mahoning, are there any weekends over the course of the time you've been connected to the theater that were really memorable for you? Ones that you really enjoyed or had a good time due to the films or the guests or wacky backstage antics or anything like that?
I would say off the top of my head, the Gremlins weekend was definitely probably one of my favorites, just because we were all so involved with having Zach there and everything. And, like we took a picture with him and Virgie was like Gizmo in his backpack. And I thought that was really cool. Just like kind of interacting with him. And like, I think that was one of our first stars that came. So I was kind of like a little, I don't know, excited about that too, I guess. It's like, oh my gosh, we have somebody famous come. And so that was fun. But I think the one that really stuck out for me personally was the Woodstock, because I just love music and like soundtracks to movies and stuff, like really have a lot to do. Like I just love, I feel like that has a big part of the movies for me, like it just tells the story more, you know what I mean? And that being like something that I've always wanted to go to, that kind of was fun for me because we had the music and everything. And I don't know, it just felt like we kind of went back in time, you know? So it was fun for me.
That was a great weekend. It really felt like you were at a music festival during the day. You know, everybody
Right.
with their shirts and their tailgating, which they do every weekend anyway there, but it felt more like you were waiting for a concert to start.
The tie-dye shirts.
I talked to a guy at the register in the snack bar, and he said he'd been to every Woodstock. He had been to the original, he had been to the ones in the 90s, and he was going to go to the 50th anniversary it would have been that weekend. Mm-hmm. And they had canceled it. So he came to us instead. So I thought that was really cool. And he was just happy to be there. The 2020 season at the Mahoning was wild and woolly and wacky. In so many ways, the customers will and will never know. And 2021 looks to be pretty amazing. You know, we've seen the list of the events we have planned, and people are going to go crazy. And I think it's going to be the best year we've ever had. And I just wanted to ask you if you have any thoughts about the upcoming 2021 Mahoning drive-in season, or any words of wisdom for folks who are coming out for the first or the 101st time to our theater.
Hold on tight and bring your rain boots, just in case.
Just a small inflatable raft.
Or that.
Just trust us on that. And when we say rain boots, the ones that go up to the hip. Just saying.
Yes.
So Nancy, we want to thank you for joining us here at Mahoning Drive-In Radio. It's been a pleasure. We will continue to speak throughout the season if we can convince you to come back for our roundtable podcast that we'll be doing throughout the course of our April to October fun time. And for all of you listening, we will see you at the drive-in.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night and God bless you.